All right. Hey, Rory F. Stern here, founder and chief strategist at RFS Digital Media, and I've got a doozy of a case study for you today. It's a really exciting one. It's the importance of a proven funnel, and you often hear media buyers talk about why we want to have a proven funnel going into paid traffic. So the importance of a proven funnel and why going from warm traffic to cold traffic doesn't just work. And I add that little tidbit at the end of it doesn't just work is, I saw a self-proclaimed Facebook ad expert, educator, trainer say that if you have a funnel that works to warm traffic, then boom, you're going to take off with cold traffic. And I almost bit my tongue. That couldn't be further from the case. And I'm gonna argue my points here, make my case, and you'll see why it doesn't just work, and yet why it's still so important to have a proven funnel. I actually almost called this case study the $600,000 per month webinar disaster. It kind of has a better ring to it. So let's set the stage before we go ahead and look at the numbers here. So we have a client that we've been working with for several months now that was referred to us. And they came to us because, interestingly enough, they had built a business around webinars that were absolutely crushing it to JV and affiliates, JV and affiliate relationships, to the tune of $600,000 a month when we took them on. And it is a webinar in I guess you could call it a make money online offer. It's certainly a business in a box, if you will. I don't think it's very biz op, but maybe it falls into that category. But at the end of the day, it's a very specific niche offer of how to create a certain type of business from scratch. And it's actually really exciting. And I've gotten a great glimpse at behind the scenes and of course, gotten to know the product creator, the webinar creator, the business owner, if you will. And it's just it's a great story. It's a 4-figure sale from the webinar, between $2,000 to $4,000. Depending upon how we structured the offer. And what's great is they came to me because they were hearing from some of their top JV and affiliate partners that those people were using Facebook ads and getting conversions, CPAs, if you will, for a couple $100s. So they're spending a couple $100 per multi-$1,000 sale and therefore getting a big rip from Facebook ads. And, as a business owner who's paying out 40% of a product of sales, you start to go, well, gee, could we build up this business using cold traffic, using Facebook ads? So I had a great conversation with the business owner. We looked at what was going on. We looked at what the affiliates were doing, and we said, all right, let's take the webinar, which I had to thoroughly clean up the copy for them. It was a total compliance mess, and I had to go in and clean up the copy and get it to be compliant for Facebook, which we did. And in a minute here, I'm going to show you the numbers of why I call it, the $600,000 webinar disaster that almost didn't happen. I might put that ring to it. Once we got through the compliance stuff, then it was a matter of let's test. And I want to set you up a little bit. The first week, when we start, we spend $150 a day, and we want to get our baseline data. And the client at the time was doing a live webinar, which is what we said, let's do. We want to establish baselines. We want to go with what they're doing so we can compare apples to apples as close as possible before just saying everything's a loss, right? Because the more changes you make, the more things you test, the more things can go haywire and you just don't know what it is. So week number 1, we run $150 a day, and I'll show you the numbers. And we didn't really get a lot of webinar registrants. I think our CPL cost per lead was between like $10 and $25. Week number 2 came around and the client was like, listen, we didn't really have a high registration rate and we didn't really have a high show up rate, so there's no idea to know whether or not the webinar worked. Fair enough. So I said, all right, can we spend a couple $1,000s between, now and the next webinar? We're going to get a lot more people to sign up, which then should be a lot more people to actually attend. But because we don't have a baseline, it's possible that our webinar CPLs are going to go through the roof. And he said, okay, let's do it. Let's test the webinar. So we did that. And again, I'll show you the numbers in a minute. And it was a complete disaster. After that, we looked at our numbers and just decided, you know what, we need to shut this baby down. Cold traffic is not working, and we'll show you why. And we don't want to do a live webinar. Live is not working. We want to switch to an automated webinar. That was the decision that was made. And the client switched to the automated webinar. Automated webinar started picking up and generating leads significantly lower than what we had, to the tune of about $10 or less. Sales started coming in. And I'm sort of jumping around here. The whole point is, you start with your baselines. You keep everything as close to original as possible so you can compare apples to apples. You identify the holes in the business, like where are things not working? And in this case, a lot of things weren't working. And when we put the chips on the table, we said, you know what? We need to go evergreen. And I think there was like a 6-week break from when we started our test to when the client got back up and running. So let's go ahead and dig into some numbers, because that's, after all, the really exciting stuff. So here we have, let's go to lifetime, because we ran this stuff for a while. So you can see for this account, we've spent $53,647.15 overall. If I bring down the full report, we were able to bring in 3,135 webinar registrants at a average CPL of $17.11, which isn't horrible when you factor in we actually had webinar registrants as high as $50 or $60 during that initial test period. Cost per click was $9.78, which of course is not anything anyone wants to see. Our unique click-through rate, which was really, really impressive, is 5.41%. Like, that was awesome. Facebook tracked 22 sales. So if we do, let's just do 22,000 times 3,000. Or no, I'm sorry, it was 22 sales times 3,000. That would have been really cool. $66,000 in sales from, what did I say, $53,000 in spend. So not all that impressive overall when you look at dollar in, dollar out. What we want to look at is where did we waste money? Where did that $66,000 in profit come from? And then we'll look at the tracking sheet so you can see where the breakdown was and what can happen. So first off, let's go over to May when we first started. And you could see we spent $1,800.65. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I apologize. This is May. We want to go look at the month of April, which had 0 sales. So let's go look at April. (2017), which we spent $4,496.44 for an average cost per lead of $17.43. I'm going to push this a little bit into April as well and see if we did anything in April, because I know, again, like our CPLs spiked. Nope, there it is, $4,496.44 for 0 sales. So almost $5,000 to get no sales. Let's go ahead and take a look here at the individual ad sets. You can see here our cost per registrant. I think we had different names back then. We did, so you're not going to see the full boat. There we go. You can see here 18 registrants with $3,000 in ad spend at an average of, let's call it, you got $39, $37 here, $46. So I would say, $45 average cost, $42. Like, that's really, really bad. That's not good at all. That was a total chaotic disaster. Imagine spending almost $5,000 to get nothing back on top of management fees. I don't know many clients who would stick with it. And this, again, is another important point to highlight. why you have to play the long game here. This client could have given up. They could have been like, oh my God, you don't know what you're doing. This isn't going to work. You got to go out. But let's go ahead and take a look at, I believe it's June that we want to look at. So here we spent $17,000 for 12 purchases. So 12 purchases times 3. So $17,000 to do $36,000. It's amazing the difference a month can take when you apply the breakdown of the funnel. So let's go ahead and look at that. Our average cost per registrant for May was $901. Okay? We go into June, it creeped up $1,459, but you can see here we spent $17,000 and did $35,000 in sales. That was even with the end of the month when the client initiated a split test. So if we go down to when things were really rocking, we actually spent $9,000 to do $29,000, almost $30,000, $29,970. Who's going to walk away from that? Who's going to shy away from that? But again, most people walk away after month one. Most people don't have the strength and the fortitude and the confidence that it's going to work out. Most don't have the bankroll that it's going to work out. So this hopefully illustrates to you that you really have to look at the numbers. You really have to dial things in. If we look at, we didn't track CTR here, but if you look at the CTR here for June, we're looking at an average of 3.37. If we go back to April, which we didn't create a spreadsheet for because we were too busy trying to figure everything out, which was just an absolute disaster every day, we had 2.51% unique CTR. So again, we were able to look at this and go, our cost per lead is way too high. What's contributing to that? One of those is our unique CTR was too low. We want to be at 3 to 3.5% or better. We were at 2.51, a low of 1.87, a high of 2.25. Makes you wonder, how do we get to 2.51? There you go. So we even had like 0.58%. Here's 3.09. Here's 0.308. Did I say it's 3.08? Again, dollars in and $3,039.98 in to Facebook, $0 out. Disaster. Absolute disaster. One thing I told the client was, looking at the numbers, I know I can do better. I know I can turn this around, and I know how we're going to turn it around. There are times, I'll be honest, where I tell a client, listen, this isn't going to work. I'm not seeing what I need to see. And that is another, I guess, case in point to say, when you're working with a media buyer, you have to make sure that they know what they're talking about, that they've been through the ups and downs, that they've seen losers and been able to turn them into winners, that they know how to interpret the numbers and the data, and not just, here, I'm sending traffic and, oh, the conversions doesn't work. Oh, well, too bad. There's always gold we can mine as long as you know what to look for. And I'm not sure a lot of people know how to do that on the client side and on the media buying side. It's very easy for me to sit here from my chair in hindsight, but I can tell you that's what I told the client. We've got to go through this. If you want to get to generating the type of ROI that you want without relying on affiliates, then you've got to push. And you think about it. Nobody hits a home run, or very few people, I should say, walk up to bat the first time and hit a home run. Building a business is serious. Getting an offer to convert is serious and takes a lot of work. Putting in the time, effort, and energy to get a business that spits out $2 to $3 for every dollar you put in takes a lot of time, commitment, risk, investment, and dedication. And you've got to look at the long game here and go, am I willing to invest $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to lose it all on the chance that I'll make $100,000? It's a gamble, and everything's a gamble. Fortunately, in this case, it worked out very, very well for the client, and we've continued to look at how do we improve these numbers? How do we bring people into this world? At one point, I think we were paying about $800 per sale, And the client was like, listen, Rory, if you can up our spend and we start paying $1,200 per sale, I don't care. I just want customers. I just want customers. So it's not always about dollar in, dollar out. That's short-sighted thinking. It's really about how quickly can we acquire new customers because we know what they're worth to us. And that, my friends, is gold in business. And again, I say it's gold in business because I get to hear this stuff live from people in the throes of it. So I was impressed with a 2-to-1, 3-to-1 ROI. And this guy's like, listen, I don't care if it's 1 to 1.5. Just get me more customers. Get me more customers. Get me more customers. And there you have it. That's the name of the game. Get more customers, build your business, build out your back end. And, you look at evaluating, is this investment going to pay off? Hope this has been helpful. If you have questions, let me know. I know there's a lot of information packed in here into a short time, and hopefully covered what I intended to cover. And if I didn't, let me know and I'll answer your questions.